Alright, welcome back. Hope you're having a good day. It's my water jasmine tree. It's the only one I've got. I picked it up a couple years ago. It has been, I think, a little over a year's update on it at all. All I've really done is just lightly prune it a couple times. Really just mainly getting like the inside growth straight up and down and like crotch growth, things like that. The reason why I haven't done an update on it for a little while is it really didn't look all that healthy last year. And it's now starting to bud out. Had plenty of time to recover from the hurricane, whatever reason it isn't all that healthy. I think maybe it might have to do that the soil is really moist. And I've left it in just the original pre-bonsai soil that I bought it in. And this actually, I say moist, but this is actually some really good looking moss that a lot of people like. It really doesn't bother me either way. Actually peels off so much, I wish I knew somebody closer I might be able to give some to. I don't really want it. But anyhow, I am going to give it I'm going to give it a repot today. Not a rough repot. I'm just going to kind of start that transition into some better free draining substrate. But before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and simplify. I'm going to simplify the apex some and give it just a light prune. Again, just some of the branches that don't make sense, the crotch growth, things like that. But there's a slender kind of an apex wanting to lead right here. You can follow my finger up kind of that way. This could be a side branch. And then this side over here is really strong. There's a chop mark here from where I chopped before. I thought about trying to perhaps maybe chop off this more slender one and allowing that to keep growing to heal that chop, but it already isn't working all that well. And this branch actually looks a little bit older than that piece does there. And since it is smaller and the idea is to hold on to some taper and everything, I'm going to take this whole chunk here off. And that should actually help a little with the repot as well, as far as water usage and everything goes with it. It's a hair too big. I was going to try to get it with the not with my concave cutters here. It's just a hair too big for it. So I'll just knock off all those branches and then come in and hit it with the knob cutters. If you guys can see that little knob there. All right, perfect. Sure, you guys can see it's budding out. There was actually at one point this winter I was thinking it might not bud out at all. Stayed bare for a long time, and then I went up to the nursery and theirs were actually all in leaf. Then some of these outer branches, just the tips, they don't have as much green on them as the inner branches do anyhow, so I'll just let it go ahead and keep a little more compact. Not bad for like a $20 piece of pre-bonsai material. Alright, first thing I'll do, try to pull up most of this moss and throw it away. I don't really want it spreading. When I see it growing on one of my trees naturally, as long as it's not going up the bark, I don't really stop it, but all right, I got most of that off. It's been 2 days. It's been 2 days since I watered it, and even this morning as I'm just kind of looking at it, it's super wet. One of the reasons I want to go ahead and get it repotted. It is pretty dense with some roots here. My first water jasmine repot. So no real intention to bare root it or anything like that. Just want to break it up a little bit. Try to get some of the black dirt out of there. Well, I tell you what, that is a lot denser than I thought it was going to be. That really might be why I wasn't doing all that well. That is packed. Alright, so that root ball is much more dense than I thought it was going to be. And so I am going to break it up a lot more than I originally planned on. All right. Well, glad I decided to repot it and not just give it a prune. And that does explain why all that moss is on there. Alright, since I'm getting it right back in that same pot, and since I am just starting that transition into bonsai soil, I think that's about as brave as I'm going to get there. Felt a handful of bigger roots down here. Kind of crisscrossing a little bit. Since I am going to leave some of that, there's a root coming right out of the trunk there that would, if it was coming out straight, it would ordinarily be a good thing, but it is wrapping right under the trunk there, and I don't really like the way that sits, so I'm going to take that off. Yeah, get it right back in that same pot with some better soil, and I think it'll be in good shape. Alright, so I got some tie downs in here. Don't really tie down all my trees. Sometimes by the time you root prune them, there's not even all that much left to tie in, especially if you got really brave with it. I didn't, and this is nice and dense, so I can tie it nice and securely in here without worrying about damaging anything. Get a little substrate in there first. Sometimes I forget you guys can't see what I'm looking at when I'm in front of the tree like that. Perfect. Alright, and this is where we're at now. It's been 3 months. It's amazing how much different the weather is now. It is unbelievably hot out there today. Let's just get a look at it all the way around here real quick. And I'll just go ahead and just mention that, I was just going to mention that when it started to recover, and I was thinking I'd just go ahead and do the follow-up video, it really just kind of sprouted out a few leaves and then just kind of did nothing for a while. I actually made a trip to the nursery and I saw that they had all their water jasmine was up there blooming nicely, and this thing just had a little handful of leaves on it. It seems to have recovered a lot better now. A lot of dieback down here, just in that they're getting some sprouts at the inner part of the branching, but not out here at the outer part. I was kind of hoping to save some of that to build some taper down below. Also, I think if you go back to my original video about this, I talked about how it just has this really strange piece of smooth bark down here, and then it's more tree-like up here in the apex than it is actually down here. There it looks like a shoot. Quite honestly, the next time this thing's ready for a repot, if it hasn't kind of developed a little personality for me by then, I may go ahead and just put it in a nice, really big pot. Let it grow for a while. I got it because I was just kind of getting bored with working with nothing but ficus trees. But I'm not sure it's a species I really, quote unquote, like all that much, or could buy small material like this and expect to enjoy it. Maybe I should have went ahead and invested in something a little bit larger. But in a way, I kind of give, like these, I know a lot of people watch my channel that want to keep indoor bonsai. And I call it, this is tropical bonsai, that's what I call it. But I keep everything outdoors, and in a way I tell people you're better off just keeping trees that do well in your climate. I'm wondering if maybe, I know that these grow in tropical places, but we get this, we're in the subtropics here, and we get this our winter time of where it's still really hot, but it's not humid at all, and we don't get any rain. And I hadn't actually noticed, we got our first rainstorm the other day, and this is just off the subject of this particular tree, but with our first rainstorm the other day, it actually greened up so many of my plants that I water every day with our tap water here, and perhaps maybe our tap water, just the pH isn't right and everything, and then once the summertime hits and these guys get rain all the time, then they really take off. But we'll see what happens. Right now I'm just kind of pruning off some of the dieback. Not really looking to get all of it. I really do want to just kind of let it continue recovering.